Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Stigma Reduction web series brought to you by the McLean County Recovery Oriented Systems of Care, or ROSC. The ROSC is comprised of many human service agencies here in McLean County, with the lead agency being Chestnut Health Systems. And then today we're going to be talking about the caregiver to child dynamics as part of our Ending the Stigma series. So the purpose of this Ending the Stigma series is to end social and physical isolation of those living with mental and behavioral health symptoms, provide accurate information on a variety of topics that create stigma, create connection and inclusion across all systems and settings, promote systematic changes within our community to promote mental and behavioral health, and end barriers associated with seeking help for mental and behavioral challenges, and increase and improve access to care for mental health services. Now, those last two are the very important ones that we really want to focus on throughout this entire series. And that's going to be ending the barriers and then increasing and improving the access to care. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to find the following concepts, and that is who exactly are caregivers, who they are, what they represent, characteristics of a healthy caregiver, and then characteristics of an unhealthy caregiver as well. We're going to be taking a look at the relationship spectrum viewed through a caregiver's eyes, and you're going to see this relationship spectrum. You've seen it maybe in some other webinars that we've had, and you'll see it in some future webinars that we have too, because that's an important an important spectrum that we use throughout the webinar series. And then also 6 protective factors to prevent child abuse and neglect. So we'll go ahead and just get right on into who are caregivers. Now, primary caregivers may include biological, adoptive, and foster parents, also grandparents or other relatives, and a legal guardian or legal guardian. It should be noted that at any point in one person's life, an individual or individuals may take on a caregiver role in a child's life. So this can be a friend, a distant relative, or an emotionally invested individual. And these relationships are instrumental in the child's development as well. Now, being a primary caregiver also carries some legal implications, as a person taking on the role with a child may seek legal or practical rights to offer care and support. So the characteristics of that healthy caregiver, we're looking at the 6 defined here on the screen. We're going to start off with patience. And being patient means that a person understands that we are all unique individuals who experience different emotions in different situations. And that could be for any adult or child. We may experience changes in plans, feelings, and emotions that do not always match the expectation for the situation that we have. So patience is a characteristic that we can use, and it serves as a protective factor. Stress management techniques help alleviate the internal and external balance struggles caregivers may face or encounter when they're thinking about patients. Empathetic, so empathy, and that's going to be an essential quality for healthy caregivers have. They're able to put themselves into their child's shoes or their hearts even, and therefore can tune into the child's deepest feelings and understand the child's body language also. It helps them not to take it personally when the child cries in a nonstop or demanding way. They are better able to compartmentalize internal and external balance struggles, much like we discussed when we were talking about patience. Compassion. When someone has compassion for a child, they have the understanding of what the child is going through at that time, which kind of leads into the empathy and the patience as well. Attentiveness. And it's important when providing child care that the caregiver is attentive to the needs and changes that are taking place. Being attentive, the caregiver will notice when there are emotional and physical changes in the person he or she is caring for, or that child that they're caring for. Dependability. Caregivers of children cannot provide care sporadically. Their care should be provided on a regular basis, so it's imperative that a caregiver be dependable and show up to provide the care that the child needs and is counting on as they look at you as the caregiver. Trustworthiness. Now, caregivers are often in a position that allow them to have access to the belongings of the child that they are looking after. It is crucial that the caregiver be someone who is trustworthy and will not breach that trust by taking advantage of the child or children that they are caring for. Now, these are just some of the attributes that help build healthy relationships between caregivers and the children. And now we're going to take a look at some of the unhealthy characteristics. So as you see here, we have neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and medical abuse. And neglect is going to be a failure to provide adequate food, shelter, affection, supervision, education, or dental and medical care that the child requires. Physical abuse occurs when a child is purposely injured physically or put at risk of harm by another person. Sexual abuse is when any sexual activity with a child, such as fondling, oral to genital contact, intercourse, exploitation, or exposure of the children or child to child pornography. Emotional abuse. Emotional child abuse means injuring a child's self-esteem or emotional well-being, and it includes verbal and emotional assault, such as a continuously berating or belittling the child, as well as isolating, ignoring, or rejecting the child. And then medical abuse can occur when someone gives false information about an illness, putting the child at risk of injury and unnecessary medical care. And this is referred to sometimes, or excuse me, it is referred to as Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Now, these are some of the attributes that hinder the development of a healthy relationship between a caregiver and a child. And now we're going to look at some of the protective factors to prevent abuse and neglect. And this is from the Parents Care and Share program via the Children's Home and Aid that has actually helped us put together this whole PowerPoint today. And they endorse some behavioral tendencies that work best to keep children safe and families strong. They are known as the 6 protective factors here on the screen, and child abuse and neglect to prevent that, and that's all of what is here on the slide right now. So it's being resilient and flexible, develop friendships with others for support, seek help in times of need, which we're going to talk about on the next slide, help your child communicate socially and emotionally, give your child the love and respect that they need and honestly deserve, and self-care and stress management to help when a caregiver is frustrated or angry. So as we go to this next slide, this is a relationship spectrum that we were talking a lot about earlier. And like I said, this is an ongoing visual tool that we use throughout the Ending the Stigma series. And the relationship between the children, excuse me, and their caregiver is one of the most important relationships in a child's life, often lasting well into adulthood and adolescence. This relationship changes dramatically as a child starts to seek increased independence from their families and they begin to make their own decisions. With increased independence comes the possibility of increased risks, both positive and negative, and then teens need caregivers to help them navigate the challenges that adolescence presents. Though some amount of conflict between adolescents and their caregivers are normal, adolescents still rely on their caregivers to provide emotional support and set limits, both of which are linked to positive adolescent development. Now, on the other hand, an unhealthy relationship is not balanced and is often where one person feels the need to control the other one. So this could be the child or the caregiver themselves. As a result of this caregiver style, the child is at risk of becoming an adult that struggles with anxiety or being timid. Some may grow up to be mentally depressed and also dependent. Others lose faith, while there are still some who have serious psychological disorders that they work through their entire adult life through those unhealthy characteristics. So, caregivers can provide the needed support and affection to help adolescents understand how their choices can affect their health and well being. In fact, research shows that parents continue to have more influence than peers on many important outcomes, including whether adolescents smoke, use alcohol or drugs, or when they start to have sex. Now, when you're looking at this, we may fluctuate on the spectrum quote every once in a while, and that just happens. I mean, sometimes you might be in the healthy to the unhealthy and going back from unhealthy to healthy. But once you start to feel yourself slipping into that red zone, just know that it's okay to reach out for help at any time and in any situation, because you're not alone. And there are a lot of resources here in McLean County that can help you. So if we look at the ones on the screen right now, you see the Children's Home and Aids up there, and we have their web information and also their phone number. We have Mark First on there as well, and a couple other ones to look at when you're looking at resources here in McLean County. Now, there's also national resources as well. So we have these to where maybe you're outside of McLean County, or you want to reach out to some of these national agencies that provide a lot of information on how to prevent child abuse and neglect. And here's some great links on the screen as well. So that brings us to the end. If there's any questions, feel free to contact us below. You see all the agencies that worked on this presentation today, all listed at the bottom with some contact information there. We also have some web addresses for more information at the middle of the screen too. The Navigate resources from PATH is really great. And then we also have some Facebook pages too. And then for the last slide, we just talk about some of the references when we refer to research and some other stuff that we talked about today. These are the agencies and references that we used. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. And I hope that you all have a good day. Bye.